Ku Klux Klan, known as the KKK, targeted Catholics, Jews, immigrants, and any un-Americans and African Americans. They have all emphasized racism and distinctive costumes.
Anyone who had never taken up arms against the U.S. government was 21 years or older, or the head of a family could file an application to claim a federal land grant. The Dawes Act of 1887 authorized the President of the United States to survey American Indian tribal land and divide it into allotments for individual Indians. Reservations were devised to encourage the Indians to live within clearly defined zones, and the U.S. promised to provide foods, goods, and money, and to protect them from attack by other tribes and white settlers. Isolated farmers formed the first national farm organization called the Grange. Granger Law were a series of laws passed in several Midwestern states of the U.S., mainly Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois, in the late 1860s and early 1870s. The Granger laws were promoted primarily by a group of farmers known as the Grange. Charles W. McCunn organized very large corporations, which he called exchanges. Movement to increase farmers' political power and work for legislation in their own interests. Cross of Gold refers to a political speech delivered by former Congressman and prospective U.S. presidential nominee William Jennings Bryan, the Democratic National Convention. Sherman Silver Purchase Act of 1887 only required the U.S. government to purchase nearly twice as much silver as before, but also added substantially to the amount of money already in circulation. The State Commerce Act regulated the railroads and was an early example of thinking. Railroad boom began in 1862 with the Pacific Railway Act. The Union Pacific employed about 10,000 railroad workers. In the late 1800s, Thomas Edison invented the phonograph, perfected the electric generator, and the light bulb. The first inexpensive industrial process for mass production of steel from molten iron to the furnace is called the Bessemer process. Communication investor's job is to manage responsibility, integrate finance, communication, and marketing to enable the most effective two-way communication between a company and a financial community. Nikola Tesla was an American electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, and a physicist. African American inventors such as George Washington Carver, Lavin Julian, and Lonnie George Johnson all have something in common. They are all scientists, educators, humanitarians, and former slaves. A situation in which a single company or a small group owns all or nearly all of the market for a given type of product or service is known as a business monopoly. That individuals, groups, and people are subject to the same Darwinian laws of natural selection as plants and animals is social Darwinism. The German Antitrust Act was a federal law passed in 1890 that committed the American government to opposing monopolies.
That's all, folks.